Modern Chinese government regulation of the press mirrors some topics addressed by George Orwell's 1984. 1984, one of George Orwell's most famous dystopian novels, depicts an oligarchical and collective society. The party desires total control over the citizens of Oceania, and this concept is revealed in the party slogan, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." This slogan reminds me of the censorship in China. That the Chinese government is trying to control access to information that it perceives to be a threat to its control. The Golden Shield Project, colloquially known as the Great Firewall, is the center of the government's online censorship and surveillance effort. Its methods include bandwidth throttling, keyword filtering, and blocking access to certain websites. These websites include Facebook, YouTube, Google, Twitter, Instagram, Bloomberg, New York Times, Dropbox, and many others. Specific material considered a threat to political stability is also banned, including controversial photos and video, as well as search terms. The Chinese government is particularly keen on blocking reports of issues that could incite social unrest, like political corruption, the economy, health and environmental scandals, certain religious groups, and ethnic strife. For example, Instagram is blocked because of Hong Kong's umbrella movement protests in 2014. And in 2012, Bloomberg and the New York Times both ran reports on the private wealth of the President Xi Jinping and Premier Wen Jiabao. Also, any websites that mentioned the Tiananmen Square massacre were taken down without exception. Using the Chinese browsers to search any of those politicians or events, you'll find a censorship notice by the browser at the top of the page. According to related laws and regulations and policies, part of the results are not shown. All the work by the party's media must reflect the party's will, safeguard the party's authority, and safeguard the party's unity, said Xi Jinping, the Chinese president in 2016, emphasizing that state media must align themselves with the thought, politics, and actions of the party leadership. Then in 2017, authorities cracked down on China's top video streaming websites, doubled down on their crackdown of virtual private networks, which is VPN, removed foreign TV shows from online platforms, and started to require users to register to online forums with their real names and introduced laws that hold chat group admins accountable for what is said in their spaces. By blocking these tools, the authorities are leaving people with fewer options and are forcing most to give up on circumvention and switch to domestic services, writes Charlie Smith, a co-founder of FreeWeibo.com and activist website GreatFire.org. Despite the foreign websites, one of the biggest social medias of China, Weibo, also suffers severe censorship. A study by researchers at Rice, Bowdoin and the University of New Mexico, found out that 300 million users and 100 million posts are being blocked and deleted daily. The Chinese government takes down 12% of total posts. Even my posts have been taken down once, just because I post the famous sentence in 1984 that describes the situation precisely, "Big Brother is watching you." The groups monitoring those posts are like the Thought Police in 1984. The Chinese government employs large numbers of people to monitor and censor China's media. Experts refer to an October 2013 report in a state-run paper, the Beijing News, which said more than 2 million workers are responsible for reviewing internet posts using keyword searches and compiling reports for decision makers. These so-called public opinion analysts are hired both by the state and private companies to constantly monitor China's internet. Dramas and films being considered to contain inappropriate contents are not allowed to release. The inappropriate contents include homosexual scenes, ghosts and monsters, and animals turning into humans. Hundreds of foreign audiovisual works, including South Korean dramas, Japanese animes, movies, are being censored because of these policies. Subcultures like memes are being censored as well. People are not allowed to use memes with any of the chairmen on them. If any of these actions are caught by the censorship groups, the account will most likely been taken down. It is inconceivable that the mention of Winnie the Pooh or its use as a meme to represent Xi Jinping and President Obama would be perceived a threat. There are resistors in China like Emmanuel Goldstein in 1984 which exist, but none of them ever succeed. In 2009, Chinese rights activist Liu Xiaobo was sentenced to 11 years in prison for advocating democratic reforms and freedom of speech. When Liu won the Nobel Peace Prize, censors blocked the news in China. A year later, journalist Dan Zhao was sentenced to 5 years in prison for drawing attention to government corruption and poor construction of school buildings that collapsed and killed thousands of children during the 2008 earthquake in Sichuan province. If the situation persists, the next generation of Chinese will no longer remember the events which happen outside of the country. They will not be able to read and watch what the government does not want them to. They will have their thoughts fully controlled by the party. Citizens will slowly turn into proles that are described in 1984, which is my greatest concern.